Welcome to Bookaccino Live, our November edition, which is going to have books that are coming out in November, December. Not that many books come out this time of year, so we've sort of put the 2 months together. And then we're going to talk about some books coming in January and February, just to get you ready so that you'll be on top of everything. People should have their leave behinds ready. Following this event, anyone who is attending live will receive a survey that to fill out and be eligible to win one of 3 books. And then we'll also be sending a video of this later on. So once again, I'm going to give a real straight formal open. Welcome to Bookaccino Live for November. We're going to be doing books for November and December and some for January and February. Okay, we're going to kick it off with your top picks from last month. And this is what our favorite things to do is take a look at the people who have been here live and see what they've selected as their favorite books. Oh, William by Elizabeth Strout was the winner by a mile, everybody. John Grisham's The Judges List, The Boys by Ron Howard and Clint Howard, Viola Shipman, The Secret of Snow, which is not just a holiday book, it's a winter book, and Going There by Katie Couric. So there's your top picks from our last month. We're going to start out with fiction. And we're going to kick it off with a book called And the Bridge is Love by David Biro. It's from Lake Union Publishing. It's on sale now in paperback. Every week for 20 years, 3 friends meet in a leafy enclosure under the Verrazano Bridge. Gertie, a feisty Norwegian divorcee and former athlete, Maria, a family-obsessed Italian-American widow, and Karina, a book-loving, hash-smoking eccentric. Together they sit and watch the sea as the ships and the last years of their lives sail by. On the eve of Gertie's 80th birthday, they realize time is running out. Gertie decides she wants to travel the world. Maria secretly plots to reunite Gertie and Karina with their estranged families, and Karina falls in love. As the 3 women strike out in different directions, a series of events unfolds that threatens to destroy the most precious thing of all, their friendship. This book you see in the lower left-hand corner is noted as a holiday cheer book. Our holiday cheer book promotion will be kicking off tomorrow. And those who are longtime readers of the site will know this are daily contests that happen, usually Mondays through Thursdays on the site. Contest link goes up at noon. If you're signed up for Holiday Cheer newsletter, you'll get that newsletter in your mailbox, and you have 24 hours to enter the contest. The titles will be announced on Friday, and the contest will kick off next week. And we don't tell you what book is running what day. That's for you to have to discover as you open the emails. Next, we've got A Stranger in the Lifeboat by Mitch Albom, which is also on sale now. What would happen if we called on God for help and God actually appeared? In Mitch Albom's profound new novel of hope and faith, a group of shipwrecked passengers pull a strange man from the sea. He claims to be the Lord, and he says he can only save them if they all believe in him. Adrift in a raft after a deadly ship explosion, 9 people struggle for survival at sea. 3 days passed. Short on water, food, and hope, they spot a man floating in the waves. They pull him in. "Thank the Lord we found you," a passenger said. "I am the Lord," the man whispers. And so begins Mitch Albom's most beguiling and inspiring novel yet. I took a look at the indie bestseller list, and this is on it. I believe it came out last week, and it's already hit the list there. Next, we've got 5 Tuesdays in Winter, a selection of stories from Lily King. It is out this week. Told in intimate voices of complex, endearing characters, 5 Tuesdays in Winter intriguingly subverts expectations as it explores desire, loss, jolting violence, and the inexorable tug towards love at all costs. A reclusive bookseller begins to feel the discomfort of love again. 2 college roommates have a devastating middle-age reunion. A proud old man rages powerlessly in his granddaughter's hospital room. A writer receives a visit from all the men who have tried to suppress her voice. Romantic, hopeful, brutally raw, and unsparingly honest, this wide-ranging collection of 10 selected stories by one of our most accomplished chroniclers of the human heart is an exciting addition to Lily King's acclaimed fiction. So there we got 5 Tuesdays in Winter. Next, we've got The Sentence by Louise Erdrich, and that is also out this week. Her latest novel asks what we owe to the living, to the dead, to the reader, and to the book. A small independent bookstore in Minneapolis is haunted from November 2019 to November 2020 by the store's most annoying customer. Flora dies on All Souls Day, but she simply won't leave the store. Tuki, who has landed a job selling books after years of incarceration that she survived by reading with murderous attention, must solve the mystery of this haunting, while at the same time trying to understand all that occurs in Minneapolis during a year of grief, astonishment, isolation, and furious reckoning. So there we've got the sentence. Then we've got Davi Shastri's Last Day by Kirthana Ramisetti. It's coming from Grand Central next on November 30th. It's one of our holiday cheer selections as well. And I'm smiling because every time I read the premise of this book, it really just makes me smile. Davi, one of the world's wealthiest women, has always lived her sterling reputation in mind. That's all she thinks about. A brain cancer diagnosis at the age of 70, however, changes everything. And she decided to take her death, like all matters of her life, into her own hands. Summoning her 4 adult children to her private island, she discloses the shocking news. In addition to having terminal illness, she's arranged for news of her death to break early so she can read her obituaries. As someone who dedicated her life to the arts and the empowerment of women, she expects to read articles lauding her philanthropic work. Instead, her death reveals 2 devastating secrets, truths she thought were buried forever. In the time she has left, she must come to terms with those decisions that have led to this moment and make peace with those closest to her before it's too late. So I think the premise of this is just like, so much fun. Let's see what people would say about me. And then you really find out. And I think this is a really gorgeous cover. It's very, very different. I really like this. Next, we've got Wish You Were Here by Jodi Picoult. And this is coming on November 30th. I just got news as we were logging on that this has just been picked up by Netflix for film adaptation. So what we got, Diana Toole is perfectly on track. She's planning to be married by 30, done having kids by 35, and move out to the New York City suburbs, all while climbing the professional ladder in the cutthroat art auction world. She's not engaged just yet, but she knows her boyfriend, Finn, a surgical resident, is about to propose on the romantic getaway to the Galapagos, days before her 30th birthday. And then a virus, you know which virus we're talking about, folks, felt worlds away, has appeared in the city. On the eve of her departure, Finn breaks the news he has to stay behind, but she should still go, he assures her, and reluctantly she does. And almost immediately her vacation goes awry. The luggage is lost, the Wi-Fi is nearly non-existent, and the hotel they booked is shut down due to the pandemic. In fact, the whole island's under quarantine, and she's stranded until the borders reopen. Completely isolated, she must venture beyond her comfort zone. I read this a couple of weeks ago. There is a complete twist that happens in this book. I am not sharing it with you, but I'm going to tell you, you're reading this one book and then something happens. So it's one of our holiday cheer titles, Wish You Were Here by Jodi Picoult. Next, we've got The Women of Pearl Island by Polly Crosby. It's coming on December 7th. I love December 7th because it's my birthday. I love when books fall on a Tuesday because then I remember exactly what day of the week my birthday is. When Tardelin answers an ad for a personal assistant, she doesn't know what to expect from her new employer, Marianne, an eccentric elderly woman. Marianne lives on a remote island that her family has owned for generations. And for decades, her only companions have been butterflies and tightly held memories of her family. But there's some memories that she'd rather forget, such as when the island was commandeered by the British government during World War II. Now, if Marianne can trust Tardelin with her family's story, she might be able to face the long-buried secrets of her past that have kept her isolated for far too long. There were The Women of Pearl Island. That's a gorgeous cover. See, that's the color of a book that should come out on my birthday, a turquoise book on December 7th. I think they were thinking of me. Next, we've got historical fiction. We're going to start with Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone by Diana Gabaldon, which is coming on November 23rd. It is 1779, and Claire and Jamie are at last reunited with their daughter, Brianna, her husband, Roger, and their children on Fraser's Ridge. Having the family together is a dream the Frasers had thought impossible. Yet even in the North Carolina backcountry, the effects of war are being felt. Tensions in the colonies are great, and local feelings run hot enough to boil hell's tea kettle. Jamie knows loyalties among his tenants are split, and it won't be long until war is on his doorstep. Meanwhile, the Revolutionary War creeps ever closer to Fraser's Ridge, and with the family finally together, Jamie and Claire have more at stake than ever before. So there's Go Tell the Bees I Am Gone. We're going to go into some thrillers and mysteries. We're going to start out with Verity by Colleen Hoover. Now, some of you may have read this book already. I believe it was self-published, and now it's been picked up by Grand Central Publishing. They did a big deal with Colleen Hoover to do the next couple of her books. Verity is one really twisty book. I know this from my book club because we sat down and we were talking about books that we've read and that were dark and really crazy. And this one has come up every time. And a number of them have read it. And they said, this is just like over the top. So they actually wanted to know like how Colleen's husband like goes sleeps at night. It's very funny. So here we've got Lowen Ashley as a struggling writer on the brink of financial ruin when she accepts the job offer of a lifetime. Jeremy Crawford, husband of best-selling Verity Crawford, has hired Lowen to complete the remaining books in a successful series his injured wife is unable to finish. Lowen arrives at the Crawford home, ready to sort through years of Verity's notes and outlines, hoping to find enough material to get her started. What she doesn't expect to uncover in the chaotic office is an unfinished autobiography Verity never intended anyone to read. Page after page of bone-chilling admissions, including Verity's recollection of the night her family was forever altered. Lowen decides to keep that manuscript hidden from Jeremy, knowing its contents could devastate his already grieving father. But Lowen's feelings for Jeremy begin to intensify. She realizes all the ways she could benefit if he were to read his wife's words. So this is one of the holiday cheer titles, and it is on sale now. Next, we have Never from Ken Follett, which is on sale this week. Every catastrophe begins with a little problem that doesn't get fixed. So says Pauline Green, President of the United States, in Ken Follett's nerve-wracking drama of international tension. A shrinking oasis in the Sahara Desert, a stolen U.S. Army drone, an uninhabited Japanese island, and one country's secret stash of deadly chemical poisons. All these play a role in the escalating crisis. Struggling to prevent the outbreak of world war are a young woman intelligence officer, a spy working undercover with jihadists, a brilliant Chinese spy master, and Pauline herself, beleaguered by a populist rival for the next presidential election. So there we've got Never by Ken Follett. I hope as you're watching, you're also thinking of holiday giving, like what you want to give people, because there are lots of ideas here of things that would be great on people's lists. Besides my favorite list, which is To Me, From Me. I've been doing a lot of To Me, From Me shopping. Next, we've got The Cartographer's Secret from Tia Cooper, which is coming on November 16th. Got two storylines here. The first is the Hunter Valley in 1880. Evie Ludgrove loves to chart the landscape around her house. Hardly surprising since she grew up in the shadow of her father's obsession with the great Australian explorer, Dr. Ludwig Leichhardt. So when an advertisement appears in the Bulletin magazine offering a £1,000 reward for proof of where Leichhardt met his fate, Evie is determined to use her father's papers to unravel the secret. But when Evie sets out to prove her theory, she vanishes without a trace, leaving a mystery behind that haunts her family for 30 years. It's now 1911. Letitia Rawlings arrives at the family estate in her Model T to inform her great aunt Olivia of a loss in her family. But Letitia is also escaping her own problems. Her brother's sudden death, her mother's scheming, and her dissatisfaction with the whole life planned out for her. So when Letitia discovers a beautifully illustrated map that might hold a clue to the fate of her missing aunt, Evie Ludgrove, she sets out to discover the truth. But you know this is coming, guys. We know this line all too well. All is not as it seems. How many times in a throw, all is not as it seems? I think it's a part of the copy they just drop in. And Letitia begins to realize that solving the mystery of her family's past could offer as much peril as redemption. So here's what we've got so far going as a theme, because we're always looking at themes. Secrets unfold can ruin everything. I think we've got 3 books that have said that so far. Let's see if we can go for 4. I bet we can. Next, we've got Mercy, an Atlee Prime thriller, which is coming from David Baldacci on November 16th. For her entire life, FBI agent Atlee Pine has been searching for her twin sister, Mercy, who was abducted at the age of 6 and never seen again. Mercy's disappearance left behind a damaged family that later shattered beyond repair when her parents inexplicably abandoned her. So now, after a perilous investigation that nearly proved fatal, Atlee has finally discovered not only the reason behind her parents' abandonment and Mercy's kidnapping, but also the most promising breakthrough yet, proof that Mercy survived her abduction and then escaped her captor many years ago. When the truth is finally revealed, Atlee will face the greatest danger yet, and it may well cost her everything. So there's Mercy. Next, we've got Autopsy, a Scarpetta novel from Patricia Cornwell, coming on November 30th. So here we've got Case Scarpetta has come almost full circle, returning to Virginia as the chief medical examiner, the state where she launched her storied career. Finding herself the new girl in town once again, after being away for many years, she's inherited not only an overbearing secretary, but also a legacy of neglect and potential corruption. She and her husband, who's now a forensic psychologist with the U.S. Secret Service, have relocated to Old Town Alexandria, where she's headquartered 5 miles from the Pentagon, in a post-pandemic world that's been torn by civil and political unrest. Just weeks on the job, she's called to a scene by the railroad tracks where a woman's body has been shockingly displayed, her throat cut down to her spine. As Scarpetta seems to follow the trail, leading to very close to her neighborhood. Just move this down. At the same time, a catastrophe occurs in a top secret lab in outer space, endangering 2 scientists aboard, and appointed to the highly classified Doomsday Commission that specializes in sensitive and national securities. She's summoned to the White House and tasked with figuring out what's going on. So here we go, Autopsy, a Scarpetta novel. Oops, I touched something, so I'd have to do something. There we go. Okay, now we've got My Darling Husband by Kimberly Belle. Now, many of you will remember Kimberly Belle's name because recently we ran a promotion where we featured 3 of her backlist titles, and we talked about a book that was coming up, which is My Darling Husband, which I read a couple of weeks ago, and it is absolutely like crazy of what happens. There's a home invasion that happens. The mother is home with the children. She has no idea why this is happening. She thinks that they have this very wealthy life. They live a very privileged life. They're living in Buckhead down in Georgia. Everything is completely correct, wonderful. And then boom, home invasion. And she learns things about her husband, my darling husband, that she didn't know. Something to take note on this book. We've been having a lot of issues with supply chain. Remember supply chain, that word we didn't know till last year, and now it's on our words list for every day. And a lot of books, printing is being delayed. For Kimberly Belle's book, we've got 2 release dates here. We've got ebook and audios coming on December 28th, and we're picking up with a paperback release on March 8th. So depending what format you want to read in, just take note of those dates. So what we've got is Jade and Cam Lasky are by all accounts a happily married couple, 2 adorable kids, a spacious home, and a rapidly growing restaurant business. And you learn a lot about the restaurant business reading this book, because he's talking about the way restaurants are set up, which ones are profitable, all the conniving that happens on the back end. Your chef leaves, he takes the staff with you, all these crazy things that happen. So it's a story about the restaurant business as much as it is about the home invasion, and really where you can get in over your head really, really quickly in that business. Their world is tipped upside down when Jade is confronted by a masked home invader. As Cam scrambles to gather the ransom money, and he does crazy things to try to get that, Jade starts to wonder if they're really as financially secure as their lifestyle suggests, and what other secrets her husband is keeping from her. He's keeping a lot of secrets, folks. Cam may be a good father, a celebrity chef, and a darling husband, but there's another side he's kept hidden from Jade that has put their family in danger. And be known to them, the home invader's been watching them for a while and is about to turn their family's secrets into a public scandal. So there we've got My Darling Husband. Let's go to some memoirs, biographies, and nonfiction. I'm going to kick it off with Sutton Foster's Hooked, How Crafting Saved My Life. Recognize Sutton Foster? Big actress on Broadway, and also the star of that show Younger that I was addicted to watching, which actually took place in the book industry. So what's this book about? And it's just on sale now. Whether she's playing an age-defying book editor on television or dazzling audiences on the Broadway stage, she manages to make it all look easy. How? By crafting. From the moment she picked up a cross-stitch needle to escape the bullying chorus girls in her early performing days, she was hooked. Cross-stitching led to crocheting led to collages, which led to drawing, and so much more. Channeling her emotions into her creations centered Sutton as she navigated the significant moments in her life and gave her tangible reminders of her experiences. Now in Hook, she shares those moments, including her fraught relationship with her agoraphobic mother, a painful divorce splashed upon the pages of the tabloids, her struggles with fertility, the thrills she found on stage in hit plays like Thoroughly Modern Millie, Anything Goes, and Violet, her breakout TV role in Younger, and the joy of adopting her daughter, Emily. Accompanying the stories, she has included crochet patterns, recipes, and so much more. I think this sounds like a perfect gift to be giving to people, just saying. And I love that she is surrounded by those huge balls of yarn. I want to know who wound all those, as someone who knits. Next, we've got Cokie, A Life Well Lived by Stephen Roberts. Through her visibility and celebrity, Cokie Roberts was an inspiration and role model for innumerable women and girls. She had many roles in her lifetime: daughter, wife, mother, journalist, advocate, historian. Reflecting on her life, those closest to her remember her impressive mind, impish wit, infectious laugh, the tenacity that sent her career skyrocketing through the glass ceilings at NPR and ABC. They marvel at how she often put others before herself and cared deeply about the world around her. When faced with daily decisions and dilemmas, many still ask the question, what would Cokie do? And that's really nice to hear. The people, that's the way they think of her. In this loving tribute, her husband of 53 years and best-selling co-author Steve Roberts reflects not only on her many accomplishments, but how she lived each day with devotion to helping others. And Cokie has a simple goal: to tell stories. Some will make you cheer or laugh or cry, and some, I hope, will inspire you to be more like Cokie, to be a good person and to lead a good life. I just love the idea of this book, and really, especially like this time of year. Now we've got Ready, Set, Cook, How to Make Good Food with What's on Hand by Dawn Perry. I have a copy of this book, and I am just loving looking at all the recipes that I can make with actually things that are in my house. As people who read the site know, I am known for making really complicated things out of the Autopsy cookbook that require you ordering ingredients online or going to strange markets to try to find them. These are foods that are actually on your shelf, and it's something you can pull together for dinner at night. Great present to give to somebody. It's going to be one of her holiday cheer titles. So Dawn Perry used to wake up at the crack of dawn to hit the farmer's market and scour specialty food stores for peak season vegetables and lesser known spices. And that was when she was the food director of Real Simple. But now she starts to have a family. She becomes less interested in spending her mornings and weekends food shopping and meal prepping than building couch forts and making Play-Doh spaghetti. Play-Doh spaghetti is a lot more fun. So she shares her secrets of creating delicious meals in no time. It starts with a well-stocked pantry. She actually tells you what you should have in the pantry to keep your cupboard and refrigerator and freezer. And she provides 125 foolproof recipes, ideas, and tricks for creating good food with what you have on hand. And it's funny because I've been going down the checklist of what to keep in the pantry. We're big on going to the farmer's market this time of year on the weekends. Got some radishes that are like amazing in the day. I'm going to drop a picture of the newsletter on Friday. Never seen things like this. But we do that and then try to figure out what we've also got on the shelves that we can integrate it with. So a really fun cookbook to work with. Next, we've got These Precious Days, a collection of essays by Ann Patchett, coming on November 23rd. Any story that starts will also end. As writer Ann Patchett knows, the outcome of her fiction will be. Life, however, often takes turns we don't see coming. Patchett ponders this truth in these wise essays that afford a fresh and intimate look into her mind and heart. At the center of These Precious Days is the title essay, surprising and moving meditation on unexpected friendship that explores what it means to be seen, to be with someone you can be your best and most complete self. She chose an early galley of actor and producers Tom Hanks' short story collection to read one night, and she had no idea that the single choice would be life-changing. We introduced her to a remarkable woman, Tom's brilliant assistant, Suki, with whom she would have a profound bond that held monumental consequences for both of them. So originally printed as a story, I cannot remember where, and just reading that essay at that time was so heartfelt about how she embraced Suki, who actually went to the Nashville area for some cancer treatment and lived with Ann Patchett, and how their lives intertwined during that time and what they both learned from one another. And it's one of those accidental kind of things that happened. He and I read the book, she got to know him, found out what was going on with this assistant and was able to help. And that's one of those moments, the kind of kismet of everything coming together. So that's one of the essays that drives the story forward. Now we've got January and February titles to look forward to. These are books you want to pre-order. These are books you want to put on hold at the library. Yes, I'm giving you a heads up early, folks, like, let's get started. First book is, we're talking about January 2022. Lots is coming out on January 4th. So you will know that the first Tuesday of the month is January 4th. We've got Fiona and Jane by Jean Chen Ho. Best friends since second grade, Fiona and Jane explore the lonely freeways and seedy bars of Los Angeles together through their teenage years, surviving unfulfilling romantic encounters and carrying with them the scars of their family's tumultuous past. Fiona was always destined to leave, her effortless beauty burnished by a fierce ambition, qualities that Jane admired and feared in equal measure. When Fiona moves to New York and cares for a sick friend through the breakup with an opportunistic boyfriend, Jane remains in California and grieves her estranged husband's sudden death, estranged father's sudden death, in the process alienating an overzealous girlfriend. Strained by distance and unattended betrayals, the women float in and out of each other's lives, their friendship both a beacon of home and a reminder of all they've lost. We've got Fiona and Jane. Next, we've got The Last Dance of the Debutante by Julia Kelly. You may have seen that this book was scheduled for December 28th, and it's been moved to January 4th. So if you see another date someplace else, know this is the correct on sale date. When it's announced that 1958 will be the last year debutantes are presented at court, thousands of eager mothers and hopeful daughters flood the palace with letters seeking the year's most coveted invitation, a chance for their daughters to curtsy to the young Queen Elizabeth and officially come out into society. In an effort to appease her traditional mother, aspiring university student Lily Nichols agrees to become a debutante and do the season, a glittering and grueling string of countless balls and cocktail parties. In doing so, she befriends two very different women, cool and aloof Lena Hartford, and whose apparent perfection hides a darker side, an ambitious Catholic Norman whose dreams of career once she helps her parents find her place among the elite. But the glorious effervescence of the season evaporates when Lily learns a devastating secret that threatens to destroy her entire family. Faced with the dark past, she's forced to ask herself what really matters, her family legacy or her own happiness. I think this is a beautiful cover. I love that dress. I love it. It's like situated on top of that divan, just divine. Now we've got The Maid by Nita Prose. And I started reading this morning. And if I didn't have to do this event this afternoon, and if I didn't love you all so much, believe me, I would be sitting reading The Maid right now. This is a book I can tell is a one sit kind of a read. Coming out January 4th, and Molly Gray is not like everybody else. She struggles with social skills and she misreads the intentions of others. Her orderly life as a hotel maid is upended the day she enters the suite of the infamous and wealthy Charles Black, only to find it in a state of disarray and Mr. Black himself dead in his bed. Before she knows what's happening, her usual demeanor has the police targeting her as their lead suspect. Fortunately for Molly, friends she never knew, she had to unite with her in search of clues to what really happened to Mr. Black in a quest to find the real killer before it's too late. Maid is a clue-like locked room mystery and a heartwarming journey of the spirit. Lisa Jewell calls it smart, riveting, and deliciously refreshing, a murder mystery with tremendous heart. And I'm loving, she sets up her maid cart every day. And she knows that the person who's been there before is like messy and she's super orderly. She also knows that there's a woman that she works with who says, I'll go in the room ahead of time and drop the linens off you, but she's really stealing the tips off the pillows that people have left behind. So it's this whole, you're inside Molly's head, and you're inside Molly's head of what's going on. And let's put it, she's definitely on the spectrum. So the way she sees things are very precise and very whatever, and that's the way they're described to you. So there we've got The Maid. Next, we've got Olga Dies Dreaming, and I actually know the pronunciation of this name. It's Xochitl Gonzalez. I'm reading this at the same time, and I'm reading both books simultaneously because both are really terrific. And this one was out in the car last night, so I picked up the other one. So this is on sale on January 4th. I'm completely into reading it. It's 2017, and Olga, her brother, Pietro Acavita are bold-faced names in their hometown of New York. Pietro Prieto is a popular congressman representing their gentrifying Latinx neighborhood in Brooklyn, while Olga is the Tony wedding planner for Manhattan's power brokers. Despite their alluring public lives behind closed doors, things are a lot less rosy. Sure, Olga can orchestrate the love stories of the 1%, but she can't seem to find her own until she meets Mateo, who forces her to confront the effects of long-held family secrets. Olga and Preto's mother, Blanca, a young lord turned radical, abandoned her children to advance a militant political cause, leaving them to be raised by their grandmother. And now, with the winds of the hurricane season, she's coming barreling back into their lives. This book is so much fun because she is a wedding planner, and you have all the details that are going into the weddings that are underlying this book. And then you've got her brother, who's the congressperson, and him out on the streets with the people, and their lives are intersecting each other. Way at the beginning of the book, this really fun scene happens because this woman wants these napkins that are totally perfect for her daughter's wedding, and she orders double of them. And her plan is that she will be able to give some of them to her cousin. So her cousin have these beautiful napkins at her wedding. And she's constantly trying to one-up her cousin. So she's going to one-up her with the napkins. It's really super fun. And it's one of those real brisk novels that once you start reading, you're completely into. Next, we've got Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. I'm coming on January 4th. Beautiful, wild, and strange. Moreau Island is a desolate spot in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with a mysterious history of shipwrecks, cannibalism, and even rumors of murder. It's a perfect destination for the most adventurous travelers to escape everything except the truth. 6 stunning 20-somethings are about to embark on a blissful, free-spirited journey, one filled with sun-drenched days and intoxicating nights. But as it becomes clear that the group is even more cut off from civilization than they initially thought, it starts to feel like the island itself is closing in, sending them on a dangerous spiral of discovery. One person goes missing, another person ends up dead. It starts sounding like a Ruth Ware novel. And the remaining friends wonder what dark currents lie beneath this impenetrable paradise and who else will be swept up under its secluded chaos. So locked room mystery on an island. We all know what that means. Somebody's going to be gone. Somebody's going to be dead. You're counting your days is going to be you. So there you go. Next, we've got The School for Good Mothers. There's so much buzz about this book. It's coming from Jessamine Chan, also on January 4th. It's like they're holding everything for January 4th. So get yourself ready for the new year. Frida Lee is struggling. She doesn't have a career worthy of her Chinese immigrants' parents' sacrifices. She can't persuade her husband, Gus, to give up his wellness-obsessed younger mistress. Only with Harriet, their cherubic daughter, does she finally attain the perfection expected of her. Harriet may be all she has, but that's just enough until Frida has a very bad day. The state has its eyes on mothers like Frida, the ones who check their phones, letting their children get injured on the playground, who let their children walk home alone because of one moment of poor judgment. A host of government officials will now determine if Frida is a candidate for the big brother-like institution that measures the success or failure of a mother's devotion. Faced with the possibility of losing Harriet, Frida must prove that a bad mother can be redeemed, that she can learn to be good. We've got The School for Good Mothers. Lots and lots and lots of buzz about this, which is speculative fiction. So there you, I'll get that on your radar. Next, from Diane Chamberlain, we've got The Last House on the Street. It's coming on January 11th. People know that Diana Chamberlain does a really great job of writing these books that are set in the different time frames and really getting you invested in all the characters and how the story is going to come together. So it's 1965, and growing up in the well-to-do town of Round Hill, North Carolina, Ellie Hockley was raised to be a certain type of proper Southern lady. Enrolled in college and all but engaged to a bank manager, she's not committed to her expected future as her family believes. She's chosen to spend her summer break as a volunteer helping register Black voters. But as Ellie follows her ideals fighting for the civil rights of the marginalized, her scandalized parents scorn her efforts, and neighbors reveal their prejudices. And when she loses her heart to a fellow volunteer, she discovers the frightening true nature of the people living on Round Hill. So let's fast forward to 2010. 2010, architect Kayla Carter and her husband designed a beautiful house for themselves in Round Hill's new development, the Shadow Ridge Estates. It's supposed to be a home where they could raise their 3-year-old daughter and grow old together. And instead, it's a place where Kayla's husband died in an accident, a fact known to a mysterious woman who warns Kayla against moving in. The woods and the lake behind the property reputed to be haunted, and the new home has been targeted by vandals, leaving threatening notes. And Kayla's neighbor, Ellie Hockley, is harboring long-buried secrets about the dark history of the land where her house was built. So once we've got these 2 time frames, I just know that this is going to have one of those really like brisk kinds of storytelling that I am constantly enamored with when I read a Diane Chamberlain book. Next, from Jacqueline Michard, we've got The Good Son. It's got this great blurb from Kristen Hanna. Rich and complex, a compelling novel about the aftermath of a crime in a small, close-knit community. It's coming on January 18th. So what do you do when the person you love best becomes unrecognizable to you? For Thea Demetrio, the answer is both simple and agonizing. You keep loving him somehow. Stefan was just 17 when he went to prison for the drug-fueled murder of his girlfriend, Belinda. 3 years later, he's released to a world that refuses to let him move on. Belinda's mother, once Thea's good friend, galvanizes the community to rally against him, to protest in her daughter's memory. The media painted Stefan as a symbol of white privilege and indifferent justice. Neighbors, employers, even some of Thea's own family turn away. Meanwhile, Thea tries to understand her son. At times, he's still the sweet boy he's always been. At others, he's a young man tormented by guilt and almost broken by his time in prison. But as efforts to make amends meet escalating resistance and threats, Thea suspects more forces are at play than just community outrage. And if there's so much she never knew about her son, what other secrets has she yet to uncover, especially about the night that Belinda died? So there we've got The Good Son. And it really looks at the story. I've been reading a lot about this book, that what happens when it's your child, as a child that you raise, a child you played blocks with as a child, the child that you think you formed, and then this happens, and what happens from there. So there we've got The Good Son. Next, we've got Lisa Gardner's One Step Too Far. Really funny about this book is Lisa Gardner swore that the last book was going to be a standalone. She wrote a book with a character called Frankie Elkin, and it was just going to be a standalone. She's not doing a series. It wasn't an original series, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? This is book 2 of the series. And guess what? Well, I'll read and I'll tell you in a second. January 18th, this is coming. A new thrilling novel that sends missing persons expert Frankie Elkin into a national forest in Wyoming looking for a young man who disappeared without a trace. But when the search team encounters immediate threats to their survival, she realizes she's up against something very dark and she's running out of time. So big news is Entertainment One has acquired the rights to the first book in the Frankie Elkin series before she disappeared, the one that was going to be a standalone, with Oscar winner Hilary Swank set to star and executive produce it. So Lisa, who was just going to write the one-off, has now got the movie deal, and guess what? It's a series. So there you go. We're going to go to True Crime Story, which is coming out on December 7th. And it's also going to be, it was one of our fall preview titles. So about 5 of you have won this book. So it's what happens to all the girls who go missing. 2011, Zoe Nolan walked out of her dormitory in Manchester and was never seen or heard from again. Her case went cold. Her story was sad, certainly, but hardly sensational. Crime writer Joseph Knox thought. It wouldn't give any thought to it if it were not for his friend Evelyn Mitchell. Another writer struggling to come up with a new idea, Evelyn was wondering what happened to all the girls who go missing. What happened to the Zoe Nolans of the world? Evelyn began investigating herself, interviewing Zoe's family and friends, and emailing Joseph with chapters of the book she was writing with her findings. Uneasy with the corkscrew twists and turns, Joseph Knox embedded himself in the case, ultimately discovering a truth more tragic and shocking than he ever possibly could have imagined. So there we go. Okay, Her Hidden Genius, we're back here, by Marie Benedict. It's coming on January 25th. You know that this is going to be a story about a woman that we've kind of forgotten, a woman beside a man, a woman who's got a hidden story. Rosalind Franklin has always been an outsider, brilliant but different. Whether working at the laboratory she adores in Paris or toiling at an university in London, she feels closest to the science, those unchanging laws of physics and chemistry that guide her experiments. When she's assigned to work on DNA, she believes she can unearth its secrets. Rosalind knows it takes one more X-ray picture, one more after thousands, she can unlock the building blocks of life. Never again will she have to listen to her colleagues complain about her, especially Maurice Wilkins, who'd rather conspire about genetics with James Watson and Francis Crick than work alongside her. And then it finally happens. The double helix structure of DNA reveals itself to her with perfect clarity. And what unfolds next, she never could have predicted. So there we've got Her Hidden Genius. Next, we've got The Magnolia Palace, which is coming for Fiona Davis, another name that I know our readers know. This is coming on January 25th. 8 months since losing her mother in the Spanish flu outbreak of 1919, 21-year-old Lillian Carter's life has completely fallen apart. For the past 6 years, under the moniker of Angelica, she has been one of the most sought-after artist models in New York, with statues based on her figure gracing landmarks from the Plaza to the Brooklyn Bridge. But with her mother gone, a grieving Lillian is rudderless and desperate. The work's dried up, and a looming scandal has left her entirely without a haven. So she stumbles upon an employment opportunity at the Frick Mansion, a building that ironically bears her own visage. Lillian jumps at the chance. But no longer she worked for the imperious and demanding Helen Frick, the daughter of the heiress of the industrialist and art patron Henry Clay Frick, the more deeply her life gets intertwined with that of the family, pulling her into a tangled web of romantic trysts, stolen jewels, and the family drama that runs so deep, the stakes may be life or death. Nearly 50 years later, English model Veronica Weber has her chance to make her career within the walls of the Frick, now converted to one of New York City's most impressive museums. And what happens to her then, and what happens beyond this decades old murder in the Frick family is where the story is going to take its wings. The Frick Museum is one of the places that Fiona, one of the iconic places in New York City that she likes to write about, is all these different buildings. And we've been to so many of them. We've been to the Barbizon, we've been to Grand Central. She just has this way of bringing us the Chelsea Hotel. And here we're going to get inside the Frick and see it with completely different eyes. Her last book, as you know, was The Lions of Fifth Avenue, that was set at the New York Public Library. So there we've got the Magnolia Phallus. And I will want to read the book to see where Magnolia is coming from. I had never thought about that in terms of the Frick. And also for anybody at book club, remember when we leave our homes again, this will be a great opportunity to go there with the book club as a destination after you read the book. Next, we've got The Overnight Guest by Heather Gudenkauf. And right now we're running, in case you missed them, in a look ahead promotion with Heather's books, where you can look at what her three of her backlist titles. I'll get to that more in that in a second, but I actually love Heather's work, and I'm really looking forward to reading this book. It's been getting such great buzz. It's coming out on January 25th. Here we've got true crime writer Wiley Lark doesn't mind being snowed in at the isolated farmhouse where she's retreated to write her new book. A cozy fire, complete silence. It would be perfect, except for the fact that decades earlier at this very house, 2 people were murdered in cold blood and a girl disappeared without a trace. As the storm worsens, Wiley finds herself trapped inside the house, haunted by the secrets contained within its walls, haunted by secrets of her own. And then she discovers a small child in the snow just outside. After bringing the child in for warmth and safety, she begins to search for answers, but it soon becomes clear that the farmhouse isn't as isolated as she thought, and someone is willing to do anything to find them. So there we have The Overnight Guest. Next, we've got Violetta by Isabel Allende. It's coming on January 25th. Violetta comes into the world on a stormy day in 1920, the first girl in a family with 5 boisterous sons. From the start, her life is marked by the extraordinary events, for the ripples of the Great War are still being felt, even as the Spanish flu arrives on the shores of her South American homeland, almost at the moment of her birth. Through her father's prescience, the family will come through that crisis unscathed, only to face a new one as the Great Depression transforms the genteel city life she has known. Her family loses everything and is forced to retreat to a wild and beautiful but remote part of the country. And there she comes of age, and her first suitor will come calling. She tells her story in the form of a letter to someone she loves above all others, recounting times of devastating heartbreak and passionate affairs, poverty and wealth, terrible loss, and intense joy. Her life is shaped by some of the most important events of history: the fight for women's rights, the rise and fall of tyrants, and ultimately, not one, but 2 pandemics. I know in Isabel's hands, this is going to be a really, really interesting book to read. I interviewed her a couple of years ago for an event for Simon & Schuster. We were up on stage, and she said that every day she writes a letter to her mother and tells her what happened during the day and receives a letter back. And it was this amazing telling of her life is all written down. And in these days when everything is fleeting, I mean, I joke that we have no history whatsoever. I mean, what do you do? Find your email that was on AOL in 1995 in order to tell the story of your life. She has preserved this kind of a history of what's going on. To hear her telling this story in the form of a letter is going to be exactly the kind of way that she is very much practiced, living her life. The other thing is, when we were on stage, it was really funny. I said, let's talk about your next book, which is what we were supposed to be doing. She said, no, let's talk about something else. So we ended up talking about love and sex and her marriage and all these other things. And it became one of the most fun events. Probably can see if we can link to find it for you online, but it was just like raucously fun. But that's where I learned about her doing the story of writing her mother every single day. Now we've got some coming in February 2022, which pens out to order ahead. Got Black Cake coming from Charmaine Wilkerson on February 1st. In present-day California, Eleanor Bennett's death leaves behind a puzzling inheritance for her 2 children, Byron and Benny, a traditional Caribbean black cake made from a family recipe with long history and a voice recording. In her message, Eleanor shares a tumultuous story about a headstrong young swimmer who escapes her island home under the suspicion of murder. The heartbreaking tale Eleanor unfolds, the secret she still holds back, and the mystery of a long-lost child challenge everything the siblings thought they knew about their lineage and themselves. Can Byron and Benny reclaim their once close relationship, piece together Eleanor's true history, and fulfill her final request to share the black cake when the time is right? Will their mother's revelation bring them back together or leave them feeling more lost than ever? It's currently in development with Hulu as an original series produced by Marissa Jo Soar, Oprah Winfrey, and Kaplan Capital Entertainment. So a lot of things are being picked up, you notice, on Netflix and for all different Hulu, Apple, just because you've already got the story written and it can be reinterpreted. Next, we've got The Magnificent Lives of Marjorie Post, coming from Allison Pataki on February 15th. When Allison was in our office, when we have the office, when we actually met people in person, she actually teased this book in the last interview that we did with her because she was off doing research. So growing up in the farmlands of Battle Creek, Michigan, Marjorie Merriweather Post was inspired by a few simple rules. Always think for yourself, never take your success for granted, and work hard. From crawling through Moscow warehouses to rescue the Tsar's treasures, to outrunning the Nazis in London, from serving the homeless of the Great Depression to entertaining presidents and Hollywood's biggest stars, she lived an epic life. But her journey began gluing cereal boxes in her father's barn. No one could have predicted that C.W. Post's cereal company would grow into General Foods' empire and reshape the American way of life. Not content to stay in her prescribed role of high society wife, mother, and hostess, she dared to demand more, making history in the process. Before turning 30, she amassed millions, becoming the wealthiest woman in the United States. But it was her life force, advocacy, and passion, an adventurous spirit that led her to her stunning legacy. Story is full of beauty and grandeur, but it's also marked by challenges. A wife 4 times over, she sought happily ever after many, many times. And did it actually end up happening for her? So we've got The Magnificent Lives of Marjorie Post, another book with a turquoise cover. I say that was done for me. Also, Allison is like really fabulous at researching history. She actually has some pictures that she posted recently on Instagram of her actually going back to some of these places to take a look at, to make sure she had all the details correct. I absolutely love her stories. Next, we've got Lucy Foley and the Paris Apartment. And you may recognize Lucy Foley's name as the author of The Guest List. This is a highly anticipated book coming on February 22nd. Jess needs a fresh start. She's broken alone and she just left her job in less than under ideal circumstances. Her half-brother Ben doesn't sound thrilled when she said could she crash with him, but he didn't say no, and surely everything's going to look better in Paris. Only when she shows up to find a very nice apartment could Ben really afford this, and he's not there. The longer Ben stays missing, the more she starts to dig into her brother's situation and the more questions she has. Ben's neighbors are an eclectic bunch and not particularly friendly. Jess may have come to Paris to escape her past, but it's starting to look like Ben's future is that's in question. The socialite, the nice guy, the alcoholic, the girl on the verge, the concierge, everyone's a neighbor, everyone's a suspect, and everyone knows something they're not telling. Locked room mystery happening in the Paris apartment. So there you've got what is probably going to be a huge thriller coming out in February. Our recent book reporter talks to interviews. Here's who we've talked to recently: Nicole Bard about Everything We Didn't Say, Viola Shipman by the name of Wade Rouse talking about The Secret of Snow. Austin Rue actually joined me to talk to interview Sarah Rule about Smile, the Story of a Face. Our interview with Stephanie Land talking about Maid. Last time I looked, it had 9,700 views on YouTube. It's one of our most watched videos. And I actually talked to her about the series, as well as the book and where she is now in her life. We've got Lisa Unger, Last Girl Ghosted, and Elisa Jewell, The Night She Disappeared. So those are current. We've got a couple of things coming up between now and the end of the year. Also, I have picked 43 bets on selections so far this year. We're probably going to do 44 just because it'll be even for giving away, because at the end of the year, someone will win all 44 of my bets on selections. And probably 11 people are going to win four put together in gift packs by me. So That contest will be going up in early December. Keep your eyes out for it. It's our biggest contest of the year. And it's an opportunity to really win a whole windfall of books that you can really have a library set up for yourselves. And people have won in the last couple of years, actually taken pictures of themselves with the books and have written me during the year of the books that they've liked. I think we've done this contest for about 5 years now. And it's something that people are always looking forward to. We've also got our holiday cheer promotion, which is coming up. It's kicking off next week. And these are some of the featured titles. These are the featured titles. This will be going up on Friday, and the contests kick off next week. So there's what you can be looking forward to with this. In case you missed it and look ahead, we're talking about 3 books by Heather, her backlist books, Not a Sound, which is a book that I still remember. It was absolutely beautifully written. Before She Was Found, This Is How I Lied, and we tease her book coming on January 25th, The Overnight Guest. And for What's Your Book Group Reading this month, we're kicking off a contest today for the Sunflower Sisters that's going to be running in November and December. If you are in a book group, all you have to do is go out to readinggroupguides.com, tell us what your book group is reading this month, and you'll be entered to win one of 3 sets of 12 copies of this book for your group. So remember, when you go out, it's what your group is reading this month. It's not this book unless you're actually reading this book. Tell us what you're reading. And we go in and look at that a lot because it gives us trending of what's going on and what's exciting to people and what's really ruminating with book clubs. I think Tom and I figured out the biggest book of the year so far has been Britt Bennett's book and The Vanishing Half. And it's like, that is, when we go out there and we're seeing what's going on, and it really helps us try to shape our content going forward. Got a big event next Tuesday night. We don't often do evening events, but we've actually got 2 coming up in the next couple of weeks because we love you. And also because we know we're not going to do a Bookaccino Live afternoon event because there aren't enough books in December to do it. So that's the reason we decided to combine. This is one of my absolute favorite books. It's called The Day the World Came to Town. It's the inspiration for the hit Broadway musical Come From Away, which is airing on Apple TV right now and is absolutely wonderfully done. I didn't get to see it on Broadway, and it was one of those things I wanted to do. A pandemic hit, didn't see it, have watched it twice on Apple TV. It's a book I actually couldn't talk about without crying for years. And it's just because the story is so beautiful. And what happened on 9/11 in Gander, Newfoundland, when all the international flights were grounded there, and you could not get into the States, and there were 38 planes from all over the world grounded. Picture, this is Gander. Gander's not used to this. Gander used to be the stopping place to get gas to get fuel to go to Europe, not right now. So the people that in this town come together, and the stories of what they do are so heartwarming. They're worried about the pets on the plane. They worry about, I mean, they're sitting there going, we have to get bottles for the babies. We've got to get formula. We've got to get blankets for everybody. And one of the stories that really made me, feel emotional is they said, are you worried about getting your things back? And the people said, well, I get towels back. I get towels back. I don't need mine. And it was, what can we do to make this work? How do we feed all these people? What do we do with these people who all have foreign languages? How can we all come together? And we're doing this interview with Jim at this time because to me, it reminds me of Thanksgiving and reminds me of what could you do that's good for people? So we're going to do that evening event. If anybody has read this book and would like to ask Jim a question, shoot me an email at carol@bookreporter.com by, let's say, Monday. And so we can shape what this event is going to look like, because we'd like to have audience up on, as well as me interviewing at the beginning, we bring audience members up on stage. If you're too shy to ask a question on camera, and we know a lot of people are, shoot me your question and I will answer it for you and I will attribute it to you. So a really fun evening. Next, our next Bookaccino Live event is going to be our reviewer picks of 2021, part of our ongoing 25th anniversary celebration. And join us to meet some of our longtime reviewers and hear their recommendations. And that event will be on Wednesday, December 8th at 8:00 p.m. Some of these reviewers you guys heard from in August 2020 when we did something along these lines. They're already trying to figure out what their picks are going to be. And we just know it's going to be a really fun evening, and you'll get to hear their voices going back and forth. So we're looking forward to that as well. And our next Bookaccino Live afternoon event, which will feature books from January 4th through February 1st and a peek ahead at March, will be on Wednesday, January 12th. Yes, we'll be back on January 12th at 2:00 this afternoon, at 2:00 in the afternoon, and sign up will be live later today. So that's what we're doing next. Thank you for everyone for joining us for Bookaccino Live today. We really appreciate your being here. And Anybody who has questions in the audience, just drop them down below.